was called Scarface. And I had heard about that film my entire life. I just was stunned by it.
I really felt as though that was expressing the sense of the underbelly of our world.
It was extremely controversial. You can imagine this kind of movie.
Cuban people who I met and spoke with, who gave me a lot of insights into some of the mannerisms and stuff.
Say hello to my little friend.
What does it take to transform into the ultimate gangster? Today, we're going behind the scenes of Scarface to see how Al Pacino became Tony Montana, one of cinema's most notorious characters. From Cuban accents to real-life battle scars, Pacino didn't just play Tony, he lived him. Let's dive in. Love at first scar. Imagine this. Al Pacino's casually walking down Sunset Boulevard when he strolls into a theater showing the original Scarface. The film's over, and he's obsessed. Paul Muni's character left such an impression, he knew he had to remake it.
I had heard about Scarface for a long time because I was working on a play by Bertolt Brecht called Arturo Ui, which was very influenced by the American gangster picture. And I heard, even as a kid, I remember my relatives talking about the Scarface and how George Raft flips the $50. And so I had heard a lot about it and never saw the picture.
I was, on a rare occasion in those days, I was in Los Angeles, and there was a few of us, 5 or 6 of us walking up Sunset, and in those days there was a movie house called the Tiffany, and in it was a movie playing, directed by Howard Hawks, starring Paul Muni, and it was called Scarface. And I had heard about that film my entire life. I just was stunned by it. I was stunned by it. The story, and completely taken by Paul Muni's performance. After I saw that, I thought, I want to be him. You know, I want to be Paul Muni.
Yeah, I wanted to imitate him. I wanted to do something. I was inspired by that performance. And I called Marty Bregman, who then put together some people, and they started working on developing this as a film.
Pacino wasn't just inspired, he was on a mission. He called up producer Martin Bregman and said, "We need to make this movie." And so, the seed of Tony Montana was planted right there in a Sunset Boulevard theater. Building Tony's fire from Duran to Muni. Pacino's secret ingredient for Tony Montana? A little bit of Roberto Durán, some Paul Muni, and a whole lot of Pacino's own grit. He explains how Duran, the intense Panamanian boxer, embodied the raw, animalistic energy he wanted for Tony.
As soon as Lumet got involved and talked about making it Cuban and all that, and all of a sudden that came in and the characters started to come to me through a lot of things. I modeled them after a few things. One was Roberto Durán. I was inspired by Roberto Durán, the fighter. There was something about his fire and his thing that caught me. But it was a combination of him, the actual Paul Muni, and my own sense of, my own need to express something in it. I really felt as though that was expressing the sense of the underbelly of our world.
This blend gave Tony Montana that infamous fire, a mix of street toughness and defiant charisma. Pacino didn't just act it, he lived it, pulling from the ruthless energy of Duran and the classic gangster swagger of Muni. That's why every gesture, every glare, every cockroach line hits with the force of a heavyweight punch. The accent hustle. Now let's talk about one of Tony Montana's key elements, the Cuban accent. Pacino didn't just grab a few lines of Spanish and call it a day. Oh no, he surrounded himself with Cubans on set, even asking Stephen Bauer to be his accent cop to make sure he stayed in line.
It was Stephen that really helped me a lot with the Cuban, and we spent how many months together?
Because I'm really Cuban.
That's what he said. He was really Cuban.
Yeah. And when we first got together, they finally put us together, and I go into this office, and there he is waiting for me. After all this build-up from the guys, from Bregman and from Brian, and and we smile and we fall in love and everything. But Al goes, I just got to ask you something. Why is your name Steve Bauer? If you're really Cuban, why are you Steve Bauer?
He said, it's my stage name.
I said,
know.
no one can pronounce Echevarria.
Echevarria.
Can you?
Now I can.
Oh, we
See,
can.
You're always teaching me something.
The group that we surrounded Pacino with in the film were all Cuban, basically all Cuban. Anytime that there was a problem in the accent, in Al's accent, they had the right to interfere and suggest that he was off with it.
You a communist? Huh? How'd you like? They tell you all the time what to do, what to think, what to feel.
Robert Easton was a tremendous help to me with the dialect, and also the Cuban people who I met and spoke with, who gave me a lot of insights into some of the mannerisms and stuff, all of which I tried to put into a capsule and swallow and see what would come out. And I was trying more not to be as authentic, because I don't believe you can really be authentic unless you can mimic very well. But if I could take the accent and the mannerisms and sort of just heighten them in a way for this approach to this movie, because I think Brian De Palma was going to take a larger-than-life approach to this film, to conceptually deal with the movie in a more operatic style, just slightly larger than life. And so I think that was incorporated into my interpretation.
The result? A voice that's as memorable as the character himself. Pacino mixed authentic Cuban mannerisms with a bit of his own flair, giving Tony Montana that unique blend of raw charisma and unpredictability. It's hard to imagine anyone else bringing that energy to the role. Laughing in the dark. One thing Pacino knew right from the start: Tony needed humor. Without those moments where he makes us laugh, Tony could have easily felt one-dimensional. Pacino infused those scenes with a dark, almost absurd sense of humor that lets us glimpse Tony's humanity, just for a second.
Manny, look at these pelicans fly. Come on, pelican.
The humor was a part of what I thought right from the start would be necessary in order to get this guy so that you could laugh at him also, because if not, it was just going to be a one-way street.
Playtime is over, okay?
That's a Carla.
It looks like somebody's nightmare.
You needed to find those odd things, those twists, those ironies, to give the character some intelligence too, so that there was something else going on also. Otherwise, it would be too blunt and too hard to take, I think.
What the fuck was that? What you just did?
That's it. That's what you do.
That is disgusting.
Watch.
Ooh, look at that fucking thing. That looks like a lizard. Like a bug coming out of your mouth.
This humor isn't just for laughs. It's a survival tactic for Tony, a way of dealing with the chaos around him. Pacino found the perfect balance, letting us see a Tony who's ruthless yet somehow, just for a moment, disarmingly funny. The face that launched 1,000 memes. Pacino's face isn't just part of the performance. It is the performance. Brian De Palma knew this and decided to introduce Tony Montana with a tight close-up. None of the usual flashy wide shots, just Pacino's scowling, attitude-dripping face.
I think Brian's ideas on the opening of Scarface were very interesting to me, and it was very, again, against the grain, so to speak. Instead of using these big, wide crane shot or something to introduce the character, he introduces him in a close-up, sitting in a chair, and he had the camera roll around him 360 degrees all the way around him. He did the performance to take about maybe 5-6 takes like that. And they were all close. They were all close. And I thought, what a fascinating thing. In other words, he was introducing that face to the audience. And the script is so good, you also felt the personality coming out of it. That arrogant behavior, that Latin machismo coming out of this man with a scar on his face.
From that first close-up, you know Tony's not here to make friends. Pacino's expression alone tells us everything. Ambition, arrogance, danger. That's the genius of Al. He doesn't need big gestures to make a big impact. The Scar story. Every unforgettable character needs an equally unforgettable look, right? For Pacino and De Palma, Tony's scar wasn't just a detail. It was a badge of honor. They spent time perfecting the placement, above the brow, down the cheek, crafting it to feel earned and rough, just like Tony's past.
Where'd you get the beauty scar, tough guy? Eating pussy?
How am I going to get a scar like that eating pussy?
I was very worried that it looked phony, it was too big, it was too small, so we did many makeup tests until we came up with something we all sort of liked.
Pacino wanted the scar to look chaotic and realistic, as if it had been gained in a brutal fight. It's a small but defining choice that adds to Tony's wild, unpredictable energy. The scar tells us everything we need to know about him before he even opens his mouth.
Felt this character was good with a knife and had fought with a knife. And the scar really came from one of those fights. And I thought it would be interesting if it got through the eyebrow and the action pulled my head away and it went down even further into this part of the face. So there's one up here and here. I like the different places because I think it was evocative of a chaotic wildness in this guy. He was all over the place. He had one here and one there, you know.
Burn for the role. Here's a fun fact. In the climactic shootout, Pacino wasn't just faking it. In the midst of filming that climactic shootout, Pacino grabbed a scorching hot gun barrel and badly burned his hand. Rather than push through, the injury was severe enough that production had to pause for 2 weeks while he recovered. Even Tony Montana had to take a break.
We had a lot of time to shoot that because Al burned himself badly on one of the guns. And so I basically had to shoot like 2 weeks without Al, so I had a lot of time to shoot the Colombians doing things.
You know, I wanted to say in that gunfight, because I wanted to say it because it's a very interesting story, that, you know, the gunfight at the end, whatever you want to, the finale, yes, this is an opera, and I remember firing off rounds, and out of that machine gun, you know. And I fired about 30 rounds, and somebody then shot me, and I got hit, and I flew in the air and landed, and, you know, I was still sort of alive and ready. There was a lot of support there, you know. A lot of that cocaine really keeps you going. And so there I was, and I grabbed the barrel of the gun I just fired. Ouch. My hand stuck to it. Yeah. It just stuck to it. And so I remember.
This incident shows the intensity Pacino brought to the role, even when things got a little too real. The downtime only fueled the tension of that final scene, adding an extra layer of grit and realism to the iconic showdown. Hello to my little friend. And then, of course, we have the line, "Say hello to my little friend," delivered with the perfect mix of rage, swagger, and yes, a touch of Pacino's signature flair. It's not just a line, it's a mic drop moment.
What do you do when people come up to you and say, "Could you say that line?" For me,
well, say hello to my little friend, yes. I say hello. Hello, my little friend. That's an Oliver Stone.
It's out there somewhere.
I must say, Oliver Stone wrote that. So, as he did so many wonderful lines in this movie, you know, and no, it's caught on in such a way, and we all have experienced it. You know, this wasn't the way it started, because when Scarface first came out, it was extremely controversial. You can imagine this kind of movie, and it stays in our lexicon in a way, and it's around, and it's a part of our culture in a strange way.
It's so much more than a catchphrase. Pacino's delivery makes this line the ultimate send-off for Tony. It's the defiance, the final, "I'm going down, but I'm going out big," moment that leaves us all in awe. So there you have it. Al Pacino didn't just create Tony Montana, he became him. From method acting burns to mastering the Cuban accent, every part of Tony is infused with Pacino's dedication. That's why, even decades later, we're still quoting him, imitating him, and yes, saying hello to his little friend. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the art of cinema.
Okay? You like it? Huh? You want more?
Máximo! Go!